Good morning to all and welcome to the session, the Hindu Editorial Analysis for Proficiency in English. Today's editorial, before we go to today's editorial analysis, I would like to start the session with a nice quote. What is today's quote? Stop being a prisoner of your past. A lot of people spend time thinking of the past. Based on that, stop being a prisoner of your past. There are two expressions which are very popular when it comes to the past. One, if someone spends a lot of time thinking of the past, it is of no use spending too much time. Then we say, don't dwell on the past. One important expression. We also say, don't brood over the past. Don't dwell on the past. Don't brood over the past. Both the expressions are very important. Now let us go to the editorial. This editorial is all about a particular act for a full repeal. Part of it has been repealed. So the editorial says there should have been a full repeal. Not easy to comprehend. You have to read twice or thrice. And not too many words. Now let us go to editorial vocabulary. The first one, it is all about a repeal of a particular act. And based on that, the very first word, a repeal. Repeal means what? It is a regular verb. Revoke or annul, a law or act of parliament. Cancel, revoke, annul, repeal, they all mean the same. We have got this many a time. Nod, it goes with everyday English. What does it mean? One, to move your head up and down many a time, especially to show agreement or approval. He nodded his head means what? In a way, he gave his approval. Nod means something positive, giving approval. Simple word is cancel. That's right. Vociferous, an important word. Part of speech adjective. Nod can be a verb, it can be a noun. Vociferous, adjective. Expressing or characterized by vehement opinions. Vociferous, you can also think of loud and forceful. Jurisdiction, it's a legal term, it's also an important word. The official power to make legal decisions and judgments within the jurisdiction of a particular person. That means he has the power within that particular area to take decisions, legal decisions or judgments. It's a legal term. I use this quite often. When you spend a lot of time reading a lot, especially the Hindu paper, after some time, perhaps 6 months, you can see substantial improvement. This is what I say quite often, substantial improvement. Part of speech adjective means what? Of considerable importance, size, or worth. When I say substantial improvement, means considerable improvement. Stem, it can be a noun, it can be a verb. But in the editorial, it has been used as a verb. It's a regular verb. Stem means originate in, or be caused by, or begin from, start from, stem from something. It takes a preposition from. You can also think of the word vehement. Yes, of course. Insurgency, this is also a term that goes with polity, an important term. Insurgency, part of speech noun, an act to revolt or uprising. When a group of people or soldiers they try to revolt, then we use the word insurgency. Piecemeal, one word, gesture, another word. Piecemeal, part of speech adjective, not done according to a plan, but done at different times in different ways. When you want to do something, there should be a plan, there should be a framework, but you don't do according to the plan, but you do different at different times in different ways. Then it is called piecemeal approach. A typical expression, piecemeal approach. Remember the combination. Gesture, yes, STEM goes with plants, obviously, it goes with botany. Gesture, part of speech noun, a movement of part of the body, especially a hand or the head, to express an idea or meaning. While speaking, we try to use our hands, shoulders, eyebrows, facial expressions, head. All these come under body language. For that, the word is gesture. Part of speech noun. Steadfastly, obviously, it has to be an adverb, means what? In a resolutely or dutifully firm and unwavering manner. Steadfast means firm, unwavering means not shaking. An important word. Hostile, we have got many a time. Part of speech, adjective. Hostile attitude, hostile statement, hostile behavior. What does it mean? Showing or feeling opposition or dislike, unfriendly, some hatred, negative attitude. Then we use the word hostile. Purview, an important word. Part of speech noun, within someone's purview, the scope of the influence or concerns of something. The purview, within the purview of the collector, means within the scope, within the framework. An important word. Immune, usually it goes with diseases, immune to a particular disease. Part of speech adjective, protected against a particular disease or illness. But in this context, it goes with the law. Imagine the armed forces, they are immune to a particular thing. That means what? They are not subjected to the law, they are above the law. Circumscribing, circumscribe, part of speech verb. It has many meanings, but in this context, it means restrict something within limits. When you restrict something, we use the word circumscribe. Statute, an important word, part of speech noun, though we have got a few times. A written law passed by a legislative body. Statute, remember, a written law. These are the words, not too many words. Now let us go to the editorial for a full repeal. From this, you should understand repeal means what? Revoke, cancel, annul, all these words, and simple word cancel. It says for a full repeal. That means what? Something has been repealed, but not completely, not fully. Based on that, it should have been full. Then we say for a full repeal. The main idea of the editorial, it has to be very specific. When you read for a full repeal, you don't understand what it is about. When you read the next sentence, you get an idea. The relaxation of AFSPA is welcome, but the demand for full repeal should be considered. Some changes have been made, and based on that, the relaxation, in this context, it means a few changes, positive changes of AFSPA is welcome. That is something positive. Contrasting information, but the demand for full repeal should be considered. That's the reason why it says for a full repeal. Full repeal should be considered. This is the main idea of the editorial. In what is clearly a nod to the vociferous demand, here nod, approval, agreement, vociferous, loud and forceful, vehement. Usually these go with argument, and also they go with, these words go with argument, they go with a particular stand, demand. That's the reason why here you see the word demand. In what is clearly a nod to the vociferous demand, people have been demanding based on that approval, a nod. In what is clearly a nod to the vociferous demand, and this demand for what? For the repeal of the unpopular. Unpopular, obviously, people try to demand vociferously to repeal that act. You should understand. In what is clearly a nod to the vociferous demand for the repeal of the unpopular, what do the letters AFSPA stand for? Unpopular Armed Forces Special Powers Act. Armed Forces Special Powers Act from several states in the Northeast. Here, the context is more with related to the Northeast. In the Northeast, especially after 13 civilians were killed in Mon district in Nagaland in December last year, the Union Ministry has decided to considerably reduce the number of disturbed areas under the Act in 3 states. A very lengthy sentence, all this one sentence, a bit difficult to understand or comprehend. You have to read twice or thrice. But in a nutshell, it talks about partial repeal of a particular act which is unpopular. And based on what happened last year, 13 civilians were killed. In which state? Nagaland, last year, December. And based on that, the union has decided to considerably reduce the number of disturbed areas under the Act in three states. So it talks about repeal of the Act, AFSPA, in how many districts, the number of areas under the Act in three states, the number of districts. When you read the editorial, you understand not in one particular state, in three states. Later, the editorial, when you read, you come across the specific numbers. So this talks about partial repeal of a particular act. Which act is that? AFSPA, based on the disturbance, that unfortunate incident where 13 civilians were killed last year in the month of December, and based on that, reduce the number under the act in three states. The order from April 1st is applicable for 6 months, and it is not forever, it is like a temporary thing. The order from April 1st is applicable for only 6 months, for 6 months. In Nagaland, while AFSPA was removed from the jurisdiction of 15 police stations in 7 districts, it remains in place in 57 police stations in 13 districts. As I said, now you see the statistical data, different states and different numbers when it comes to police stations and districts. The numbers vary or differ from state to state. In Nagaland, while AFSPA was removed from the jurisdiction, an important term, it's a legal term. What does it mean, jurisdiction? The power to take legal actions or legal decisions within a particular area. Usually, this word goes with, if you take the district collector, the one who has a power, administrative power, we use the expression, it is under his jurisdiction. Means what? It is under his control, jurisdiction. But usually it goes with administration. It also goes with the legal dimension. It has a legal dimension. Jurisdiction of 15 police stations. Within that, if you take those 15 police stations, within those 15 police stations, this is applicable. The jurisdiction of 15 police stations in 7 districts, it remains. So it was removed from the jurisdiction of 15 police stations in 7 districts, but it remains in place in 57 police stations in 13 districts. That means what? Completely not repealed, partially. That's the reason why the editorial says full repeal is should be considered. Now it talks about another state. It starts with Nagaland. As I said, the context goes with the Northeast. The relaxation has been most substantial. Most substantial, substantial and important expression. Generally, it goes with substantial improvement, substantial progress, substantial growth. When I talk about the combinations, please listen very carefully and make a note. Same combinations you may get in the exam. These are the standard combinations, and very important when it comes to fillers, cloze test, and also when it comes to answering questions based on the meanings of the words of a particular passage, words from a passage. The relaxation has been most substantial in Assam, where it has been removed entirely from 23 districts and partially from one. This editorial talks about complete repeal. When it comes to Assam, it is substantial. Why does it say that? It has been removed entirely from 23 districts and partially from one, thus limiting its operation fully to only 9 districts. Thus limiting its operation fully to only 9 districts. In Manipur, another northeast state, in Manipur, on the other hand, only 15 police station areas in 6 districts have been excluded from the disturbed area notification, and the act is still in force in 82 police stations in 16 districts, including several hill districts, whether or not they adjoin the international boundary. This goes with insurgency basically, and here it talks about the last 3 sentences. If you consider in different states, different statistical data. It starts with the Nagaland, then Assam, after that Manipur. Here, when it comes to Manipur, it is still in force in 82 police stations in 16 districts. As things stand as of now, an important expression, the government's decision to relax the application of the Act in specific areas seems to stem from originate from, an important word, stem from. As I said, it takes a preposition from. The reduction in violence and also administrative reasons, rather than as a response to the burning question on whether the act is essential to security operations in these states, which have experienced insurgencies of various degrees in the past. A lengthy sentence looks like a paragraph, but what does it talk about? As of now, in the present scenario, as things stand, what is the reason for the decision taken by the government? It is not because the disturbance has come down, the violence has come down. It could be that could be the reason. It is not because of the demand. It is not because of the demand. That's what the editorial opines. As things stand, the government's decision to relax the application of the act in specific areas seems to stem from the reduction in violence, not based on the demand, based on, stem from, originate from the reduction in violence and also administrative reasons. Two reasons: one, reduction in violence; the other one, administrative reasons, rather than, an important expression, as a response to the burning question. Now, there's a burning question whether the act is essential to security operations in these states, and not because on that, because of reduction in violence and also administrative reasons, not because of the burning question. What is the burning question here? Whether the act is essential to security operations in these states, and these states which have experienced insurgencies of various degrees in the past. Insurgencies of various degrees in the past. All these states. What is this? Very good. Congratulations, Adi. I will talk about that later. And not one, so many. That's very good. So, which have experienced insurgency. Insurgency means a revolt against the government, usually revolt by the army, a lot of group of people. Then we use against the establishment, against the government. We use the word revolt, insurgency. And there's one expression, northeastern insurgency. While this piecemeal gesture, piecemeal, adjective, gesture, noun. Piecemeal means what? Not done according to the plan, not done in a systematic way, done at different times in different ways. And gesture, body language, the way you use your hands and your facial expressions, the way you nod your head. While this piecemeal gesture would be welcomed by the residents in these areas in particular, obviously they will welcome the popular demand for the repeal of the act in full form, in full, from the three states remains unfulfilled. This goes with the main idea. Wherever they have relaxed, definitely the people would welcome. But still, the demand is what? Full repeal of the act. And if you take these three states, this particular demand still remains unfulfilled, means not completed. Despite the vociferous protest, vociferous, very loud and forceful, and vehement also, you can say strong. Despite the vociferous protest from security forces for the retention of the act, the security forces, there's a demand from them, protest from them to retain the act, retention of the act. But on the other hand, human rights organizations, sections of civil society, and committees, including the five-member committee led by retired Supreme Court Judge B.P. Jeevan Reddy in 2005, have steadfastly called for its repeal. So a lot of groups wanted that act to be repealed, though the security forces, there were protests from security forces, vociferous protests from security forces for the retention of the act. On the one hand, protests from the security forces for the retention of the act. On the other hand, demand human rights organizations, sections of civil society, and committees, including the five-member committee led by BP Jeevan Reddy, have steadfastly, firmly called for its repeal. The committee in particular had suggested that the act had created an impression that the people of the Northeast states were being targeted. Why repeal? There's an impression. What is that impression? This act has created an impression based on, this is based on the committee suggestion. The committee in particular had suggested that the act had created an impression that the people of the Northeast states were being targeted for hostile treatment. Hostile means unfriendly. People of the Northeast, based on this act, being targeted for hostile treatment, and that the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act could instead be suitably amended to tackle terrorism. This is a such based on the session from the committee. So the people should not be targeted. They should not experience hostile treatment. Instead of that, the act instead be suitably amended to tackle terrorism. The Supreme Court appointed Justice N. Santosh Hegde Committee in 2013, which investigated encounter killings in Manipur, suggested that the act must be properly reviewed every 6 months to see if its implementation is necessary. But the extensions of the purview of the act have proceeded as routine affairs. Another committee, another recommendation, another suggestion. First, the committee BP Jeevan Reddy, headed by, now in 2013, another committee headed by Justice N. Santosh Hegde Committee, headed by Santosh Hegde, which investigated encounter killings in Manipur, suggested that the act must be properly reviewed every 6 months to see if its implementation is necessary, but extensions of the the scope of the act have proceeded as routine affairs. That means they did not examine casually, routinely, they extended every 6 months. In 2016, the Supreme Court had also ruled that the armed forces could not be immune from investigation for excesses. All these excesses because of the armed from the armed forces or by the armed forces, and based on that in 2016, the Supreme Court had also ruled that the armed forces could not be immune, cannot be immune, could not be immune. It is in past. Immune means what? They are not above the law. They are subjected to law. But usually the word immune goes with diseases. From investigation for excesses, misuse of the act. How does it end? Committed the acts or here for excesses committed during the discharge of their duties, even in disturbed areas, in effect circumscribing the conditions in which the immunity is applied. Circumscribe in this context means restrict, restricting the conditions in which the immunity is applied. These beg the question, means they pose the question again, why should the act remain in the statute? Statute means a written law. So why should the act remain in the statute means what? Why should it be there? It should be completely repealed. The main idea of the editorial. This is all about the editorial. Now, Adi, who is this Adi? I suppose who has got selected. Congratulations. Let me see the. Adi says, Sir, I got selected for IBPS clerk, Bank of India, IBPS RRB clerk, Saptagiri Gramina Bank. And congratulations. Who else has got Bharat also? Congratulations. Glad to know that. Happy for you guys. And your future, you have a very bright future. If you look at my YT YouTube channel, when you go to the view channel, there you see achieve success, make your mark. There are two areas, there are two parts. First part, achieve success. The first part is over. Now make your mark. Make your mark means what? In a particular field, you try to do well and you leave an impression. So try to make your mark. I wish you all the best. Wonderful. Very good. Congratulations to all those who got selected and wish you all a very bright future. Now let us go to the questions based on this editorial comprehension point of view. One is Bharat, the other one is Adi. Very good. What is this editorial about? Where has the relaxation been most substantial? What is the key word over here, substantial? Where does the government decision to relax the application of the act in specific areas stem from? Again, the key words stem from. Niche for yourself, you can say that also. But make your mark a better expression. Means what? In a particular field, you have to stand out. You have to stand out and you have to make a name for yourself. Make your mark means make a name for yourself. In the context of the editorial, what remains unfulfilled? Again, key word. Who have steadfastly called for its repeal? Three sources, three organizations. You have to list out these groups have steadfastly, firmly called for its repeal. Now let us go to, before we go to practice questions based on exam topics, Murthy's English, that is the name of my app, official number 7032325590. These are the features. And because this is a live session, I will not take a lot of time. Quick look at the features after the session. You can download, have a look at the features, and have launched. I'm going to start 4 courses. Later, you can go through all these, but at the outset, one banks related one course, English course, and another SSC related English course, and banks related course covers all the banks and all the dimensions, prelims, mains, descriptive paper, and English course for SSC English course covers all the SSC exams, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. Then descriptive English course exclusive. This goes with SSC tier 3 and banks also. And spoken English course. This also, I'm not talking about the details because here time is precious. After the session, you can download the PDF. There you have the slides. You can go through the details. So that's all. Let us go to practice questions based on the exam topics. First 5 questions deal with, yes, of course, midnight. Please go to practice questions based on exam topics. Error location, first 5 questions. The explanation that he gave for missing the meeting were not satisfactory. I will start. Quite busy, quite hectic. Telugu channel, I'm going to start. Here, what is the subject? The explanation. This is a subject. After that he gave for missing the meeting. It is a clause. Don't consider any phrase or clause after the subject. They are used only for adding information. The explanation singular, then we cannot say were, we have to say was. So, what is this question about? Subject verb agreement. Explanation was. Question number 2. Mr. Singh's son has applied to the post of assistant manager in a construction company. Where is the error? Mr. Singh's son has applied to the post of assistant manager in a construction company. Question number 2. Very good. Here, Mr. Singh's son has applied. Applied to is not correct. It should be for the post of. Applied for. Applied takes a preposition for. So, what is this question about? Preposition or prepositional combination. Appropriate preposition. Applied for. Very good. Question number 3. The manager has sent many reminders to Mr. Rao to repay the loan, but has not received no reply. Mind you guys, all these questions are from previous year's papers. I'm bringing on and off some questions from the previous year's papers to give you an idea about the standards. And I bring questions from the newspaper, the Hindu paper, the international magazines. It's a combination of both. When I say the newspaper or the international, any specific international magazine, current affairs, current context. Here, there is an error in the fourth part. Has not, negative, received no reply. So, two negative expressions in the same sentence, in the same clause rather, we use double negative. Are double negatives acceptable? Not acceptable. So here we should not, but has received, or you can use this not. You have to, you can use not, has not received. No is not correct. We have to say any reply. Has not received any reply. If you are preparing for banks, buy that course, enroll in that. If you are preparing for SSC, enroll in that course. But I'm going to offer a combo. You can enroll in both. Then you don't have to pay same amount. It comes down substantially. Has not received any response, any reply. Beside the chairman, all the committee members were present at the shareholders meeting. Easy, you don't have to read the complete sentence. The very first part, there's an error in the very first part. What is it? Beside means next to. Here it does not talk about that. It talks about in addition to. Based on that, besides, we have to say besides. Here you have to recollect, though easy, sometimes under pressure, you may overlook. And this is from one of the exams. Do remember, beside and besides, you have to recollect. Beside means what? Next to. And besides means in addition. In addition to. Unfortunately, today, many parents cannot afford to send its children to school. Education has become very expensive. That is the reason. Today's all the questions are based on error location from previous year's papers, especially bank exams. What is the subject here? Unfortunately, today, many parents plural, can't afford, means they don't have enough money, can't afford to send. It is not correct. Parents send their children to school. So this is related to subject pronoun agreement. Please remember, this is also an important dimension. Subject pronoun agreement, object pronoun agreement, they have given in many exams. Parents, their children, obviously. All the five correct, you should be happy. Very good, I appreciate. Because these are from previous year's papers, obviously, there's a possibility for you to come across different sources. As I mentioned, I bring questions based on questions from previous year's papers and also questions, my questions. These are not my questions, these are from previous year's papers. But usually I bring my questions. My questions are higher level from the Hindu paper, from international magazines like The Economist, the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, the Guardian, all these magazines. They are difficult, obviously. Balding is much more common in males than females. Much more common in males than females. At males, not correct. Then is not correct. Eliminate based on one word. At again, not correct. Against is not correct. So, what is the answer? No correction required. An easy one. Many healthy people are being infected by the virus. Many healthy people are being infected by the virus. You have to understand the context, question number two. And it is in passive voice, not in active voice. Actual sentence, the virus is infecting many healthy people. The virus is infecting many healthy people, active voice. When you change it to a passive voice, what do you get? Many healthy people are being infected. Any continuous tense, you have to look for one word that is compulsory. Which word is that? Being. Only been goes with perfect tenses and passive voice, but being so continuous tenses in passive voice. So here only one option has being, that is the answer. Many healthy people are being infected by the virus, but whenever you come across a question related to active voice, passive voice, direct and indirect, you have to think of this is in passive voice. You have to know for sure what it is in active voice. The virus is infecting many healthy people, active voice. Many healthy people are being infected by the virus, passive voice. It is predicted that oil reserves will finish by 2034. Oh, oil reserves will finish by 2034. Here, will, after any helping verb or any model, if you have to use a verb, it should be in bare infinitive. No other form is acceptable. Based on that, finished is not correct. Reserves are finished, again, not correct. Would finish, hold this one. Have finished, not correct. Should finish, why should we use the word should? Not correct. What is the answer? It is predicted that oil reserves would finish by 2034. Answer is the second option. He has visited many places all over the city, looked at the perfect location to set up his factory. Exactly, Yakub. She was writing a letter was being written by her. Very good. Please go to question number 4. He has visited many places all over the city. For what? Looked at is not correct. The perfect location to set up his factory. Looking out, again, not correct. Looking for. Visited many places looking for the perfect location to set up his factory. Looking after means take care, not relevant. Look forward to, an important expression, but not relevant here. So answer is looking for the perfect location. No traffic will be allowed in this area since the minister visit scheduled today. At the outset, it talks about someone's visit. Then you have to use a possessive case. The minister visit, it is not in the possessive case, so not correct. Minister's visit scheduled today, grammatically not correct. Since the minister is visiting scheduled today, grammatically, contextually not correct. Minister's visit is scheduled. Again, passive voice. They schedule the minister's visit. The minister's visit is scheduled. Answer is the third option. Where is this? Between city and looked. He has visited many places all over the city. No need of a comma here. Looking for. No need of a comma over there. No traffic will be allowed in this area since the minister's visit is scheduled today. Again, you make a note, it is in passive voice. And which tense is it? Present tense. We can use present tense to talk about the future planned actions. What time will the program start? Two sentence patterns. The program will start at 5:30, one pattern, typical pattern. The other one, the program starts at 5:30. Planned action, we use present tense. Now let us go to the next set of questions, fillers. Why not? Why not? Since and end. Since and the word end depends on the context. Never restrict yourself with questions like can we use these two words in the same sentence. It all depends on the idea, the context. Based on the context, based on the idea, you can use any number of times a particular word. You can use different words. But what matters here, the context is important. Based on the context. Mr. Bose, working in the bank for the last 15 years, For the past 15 years, also we say more stylish. For the last 15 years, whenever you see prepositions like since and for, you have to think of two tenses. One present perfect tense, the other one present perfect continuous. Usually the expression for the last 15 years, for the past 15 years, goes with, these expressions go with present perfect continuous. Based on that, Mr. Bose has been working in the bank for the last 15 years. He has been teaching. We have been learning. Praful to be promoted as he is very hardworking. Praful afraid to be promoted, hoping to be promoted. Hold this one. Tries to be promoted, awaited to be promoted, deserves to be promoted. Here, exactly, he has been teaching English for the last 10 years. He is very hardworking. Hardworking people deserve. Based on that, we have to choose not hoping. Praful deserves, but here deserves to be promoted as he is hardworking. One requires great to teach and handle little children who are restless. And today we talk about kids who are hyperactive. Hyperactive kids are restless. Wait for means await. Prasad has come up with an example. Yakub has been watching Murthy's session for the last 5 months. Practical example. Here, the clue, understand the context. One requires great to teach and handle little children who are restless. When you deal with people who are restless, you need a lot of patience. Based on that, great patience, not attitude, not determination, not knowledge, not aptitude. Aptitude means interest. Here, the context talks about patience. Patience is required. For success, also, you need patience. You have to wait for a long time. The young boy was unhurt for a minor injury to his knee. The young boy was unhurt less for a minor injury, no, except for a minor injury. Hold that one. Also, no, just for a minor, no, while. Except for, that's a standard expression you have to remember. Except for a minor injury to his knee. Answer is the second option, except for. He is doing well except for slight cold. Another example, the mist was so thick, it was like, here you have to recollect the difference between fog, and mist, mist. Both refer to the clouds, the smoke or the cloud. At the ground level, we use the word fog. Mountain region, we use the word mist. And fog plus smoke, what is the word? Smog. Even that word you have to recollect. It was thick. Based on that, it was like walking beyond, by, along, against, through a cloud. Through a cloud. This Jumble from an international magazine, you got to read very carefully. Not that easy. I'll give you some time. Please read very carefully. Four out of five, all the five correct. Very good. Today, all those questions, error location, phrase replacement, fillers from previous year's papers. That means standards, not very difficult, moderate questions. But this one is from an international magazine. This is my Jumble. not from any previous year, not from previous year's papers. 1F, very good. Who is that? First one to respond. Sirisha, very good. F is the first one. Scientists have fully sequenced the human genome for the first time. After that, easy. Something that has been a scientific goal for decades. FA1 pair. Here it talks about the keyword sequenced. Then the writer wants to tell us what is sequencing or what is done during sequencing. The DNA of an organism is chopped up, read, and then reassembled. The next one is D. Then it talks about sequencing. Sequencing a genome can be thought of as something similar to putting together a complicated puzzle. DB. Or it should be BD, I think better. What is this sequencing? Sequencing a genome can be thought of as something similar to putting together a complicated puzzle. Why is it a puzzle reassembled? During sequencing, the DNA of an organism is chopped up, read, and then reassembled. Let me think. Oh, here it should be. We have to go with the word sequencing. When you go with the word sequencing, we have to choose D as a third one. Then comes something general. Here, technical. We have to go with something scientific and technical. Based on that, it is not BD. It should be, as I said at the outset, it should be DB. So during sequencing, the DNA of an organism is chopped up, read, and then reassembled. Based on that, sequencing a genome can be thought of as something similar to putting together a complicated puzzle. After that, easy, a large international effort to sequence a human genome. The Human Genome Project was launched in 1990 and concluded in 2003. The project, already mentioned a particular project, and based on that, it should be CE, the definite article there. It takes time. You have to learn grammar. You have to learn how to, all the rules. Only then you will be able to. And also, do remember, you cannot answer just like that. If that is the case, here we have a lot of students. They have been preparing for the last 1 year or so, more than that, some of the students. It takes a lot of time. If you see those students, some of these students answer within no time, that means that means a lot of effort has gone into it. They have spent a lot of time. If you spend a lot of time, put in efforts, you can also definitely answer. But it does not happen just like that. Training is required, learning, efforts, time. Only then you can. Help someone or something. Things get separated. Let us go with if you have a doubt, things get separated, come apart. To consume less or use less, cut back on. E. To raise a child or a young animal, then we use the word bring up. Become happier, cheer up. Become happier, cheer up. Chip in actually means one of the cheer up means be happy, obviously. Here it is be help someone or something chip in. Chip in also means to give a helping hand. Here it is C. I would like to tell help someone or something chip in. Things get separated, come apart. To consume less or use less, cut back on. To raise a child or a young animal, bring up. Become happier, cheer up. C, D, E, A, B. Very good. Another meaning chip in, interfere, interrupt, but here it has a positive connotation. Yes, I, Arvind. It has a different connotation, different meanings. Look at the example, you understand. My grandparents brought me up after my parents died. They raised me. She cheered up when she heard the good news. She felt very happy. See, different phrasal verbs. Phrasal verbs are very confusing because they have different meanings. How do you know? Based on the context. Look at this. If everyone chips in, we can get the kitchen painted by noon. Here it does not mean interfere. It means give a helping hand. What is the meaning chip in? I said help someone or something. Look at the context. If everyone helps, chips in, we can get the kitchen painted by noon. Positive connotation here. No, cheer up means to be different meanings, Prasads and other students. Dif- dif- Different phrasal verbs have different meanings. Please remember. How do you know which meaning? Based on the context. Based on the context. When we say if everyone chips in, it does not mean negative, it is positive. We can get the kitchen painted by noon. The top and bottom come apart if you pull hard enough, they get separated. My doctor wants me to cut back on sweets and something else. Yes. You will come to know before 7th, Ramesh. Today, tomorrow, I'm going to come up with new slides and I will provide more information. All of you, please download the app Murthy's English. There you have all the details. I'll publish the course, the schedule, the topics, and the combo information, all that. Now let us go to the last slide. We have 7 minutes. Editorial vocabulary, very important. Repeal, it's a verb. It's a regular verb. Means what? Revoke or annul. Answer is E. Nod can be a verb. Nodded, it can be a noun. It means what? Approval, to approve or give one's consent. H is the answer. Vociferous argument, stand. Obviously, it has to be adjective. Loud and forceful. Jurisdiction, noun, obviously. Official power to make or take legal decisions based on that. Under someone's jurisdiction, under his power. Substantial, improvement, a typical combination. Obviously, adjective. Means what? Considerable size or quantity or amount, anything. Stem takes a preposition from as a verb. Stem also goes with plants, trees. Here it is a verb. Originate in, start from, emanate from. A is the answer. Insurgency, noun. Revolt, active revolt. D is the answer. Piecemeal approach, a typical combination, but in the editorial, piecemeal gesture. Obviously, it has to be adjective. Done at different times in different ways, not according to the plan. Steadfastly, obviously, adverb, not always ly, exceptions are there. You should remember. Means what? In a firm manner. F is the answer. Gesture, the way you use your body language, non-verbal communication, gesture, part of speech, noun. What are you left with? Movement of a body part. Has anyone got all the 10 correct? That is highly appreciable. That's all for today. Have a nice day. Thanks for being with me till 8:55. Do remember to subscribe and share. And after the session, I'll provide the PDF. Try to work on important questions. Join the Telegram group. After the session, go to the description of the video and click on the link. That's it. And all the information related to the courses, the app, the website, all these things you will get over there.